Oh, to answer this question, I have to explain a concept to you called the escalation ladder.
Okay.
Okay. So what is the escalation ladder? It's a very simple idea, which is in a fight, emotions create momentum.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, let's just say you and I, we have a fight. I tell a joke, you think it sucks, I get pissed off at you, so I punch you, right? So what? Then you punch me back. Then I'm like, okay. Then I take out a knife and I stab you. Then you take out a knife and then you stab me. Then I take out a gun, I shoot you. You take out a gun, then you shoot me. Then I take out a bazooka and I hit you.
Okay.
Okay. But you can see how it's a ladder, and how emotions create momentum, but there's a logic to the escalation. Okay. So understanding the escalation ladder now, I'll explain to you how the war in Iran has been escalating.
Okay.
And how it should continue to escalate if the war continues. So States and this is Iran, okay?
Okay.
So we start the war with the United States using something called a decapitation strategy, meaning that what the United States believes that if I take out your leader, now you're leaderless, and therefore you must surrender to me. So in the first day, February 28th, they killed the Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran.
The Ayatollah Khamenei, yeah.
That's right. And they killed also a lot of the senior leadership. And this is what we call a decapitation strike. And the assumption is that if you take out the leader, then Iran would break out into civil war and they would surrender to you. And this is exactly what happened in Venezuela a few months back, right? So this is what we call a decapitation strike. Okay, so that's a first strike, okay? So now what Iran does is it strikes back by closing off the Strait of Hormuz, right?
And but that's because they made a new Ayatollah who took over. Who was that?
The son.
The son.
Right. So
Khamenei's son.
That's right. They replaced the Ayatollah Khamenei with the Ayatollah Khamenei.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what Iran did, close up. The first thing they did was close up the Strait of Hormuz, but they started to attack America's allies in the Middle East, including Qatar, Dubai, Bahrain, Kuwait. Okay?
America did?
No, Iran did.
Okay, so take me back a step.
Okay, all right. So the United States does a decapitation strike.
Got it.
And then Iran punches back. How? By putting pressure on America's allies, right? They attacked Israel, they attacked Dubai, they attacked Qatar. The reason why they did that was the theory that these places give a lot of money to the United States. They invest a lot in the U.S. economy. So therefore, they have a lot of leverage over the United States. If they're being attacked, they would pressure Trump to end the war. Okay? And so once Iran did that, then that forces the United States to basically have a ceasefire. Because if the war continues, then what would happen is the entire world would lose at least 20% of the global oil supply. And this could possibly create economic collapse.
So you're saying America had to take a break then and rethink about what's going on?
Yeah, because the first strategy didn't work.
Got it.
And the United States didn't have a second strategy.
And the Strait of Hormuz is closed at this point? They closed it?
The Strait of Hormuz is...
No, at this point in the ladder.
Okay, so throughout this entire process, there's been a lot on and off. So sometimes it's open, sometimes it's closed. Okay, so now what the American response is now to put more pressure on Iran by trying to strangle the economy. Okay, so how the United States does that is Iran ships 90% of its oil to China, right? So what America did was impose a naval blockade in the Arabian Sea to prevent Chinese tankers from reaching Iran and prevent Iranian tankers from reaching China. Well, no, China gets its oil from a diverse, from many different countries, but Iran will export 90% of its oil to China. And the theory is that if you stop that trade, then Iran cannot pay its soldiers. Then the soldiers would rebel and the government would collapse, okay? So that's the second step. Okay, I tried the decapitation strike, didn't work, so now I'll try to strangle your economy.
Got it.
And that doesn't work either, right? And so what happens now is that because the Iranians have been under sanctions for the past 30 years. So they are used to being poor. Right? Right? So in Los Angeles, if we made gas $10 a day, well, there'll be riots. But in Iran, if you take away half their calories, well, they're used to being poor. So they're that's right. So therefore, the Iranians are much more able to bear pain than the American, right? And so the American government now under Trump is under a lot more pressure in this war than the Iranians.
Understood.
Okay, so that's the second step. And that doesn't work either. So now you move to a third step, which is you destroy the state's capacity to deliver basic services, which means water, food, and electricity. So when Trump says, I will destroy their civilization, what he's really saying is, I will destroy their power plants, right? Because energy is a source of civilization, right? So the next step that we can expect, which has not happened yet, but there are signs that it will happen, is the United States will target its missiles at Iranian power plants and deny electricity to the local population. And the theory is that if you do that, then people will not be able to bear the pain and they will revolt, exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's a lot going on. And you believe that that's where we could be headed there?
We are very much heading in that direction, okay? So now what the Iranians do in response is they activate their proxies, okay? Why? Because the proxies are now able to exert a lot more pain on the global economy, right? So the Iranians are able to close off the Strait of Hormuz.
And their proxies, who are they? Say who their proxies are?
Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and then you have the militias, the Shia militias in Iraq.
Okay.
Right? So the logic of this is by closing off the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is denying the world 20% of the global supply of oil. But now if the Houthis are able to close off the Bab el-Mandab Strait, then that's another 7%. So that's putting more pressure on the global economy. And now if Lebanon is able to close off the Suez Canal or put pressure on trade over here, that's even more pressure, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah, but as we can see, this escalation ladder is coming up really fast. Right? And the real fear is that the Americans will be under so much pressure that they use tactical nuclear weapons against Iran. And then we could be looking at nuclear war and civilizational collapse.
And that's World War III for sure.
No, it's the end of civilization for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Professor Jiang, what are we going to do?
Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
We're good then. Yes, okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah. All right, yeah. Okay, so again, we want to use game theory and step back and ask ourselves why this war is happening.
Okay.
Because once you figure out what the motivations of the players are, then you can figure out how far this goes, right? Because the players are trying to win, and they're going to try to win in a way that is the least harmful or the easiest way to win, if that makes sense. Yeah. So let's look at game theory and ask ourselves, who are the major players in this game and what do they want? Okay. So you have the United States, of course. You have Iran. You have Israel. And I would say the fourth major country is Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And why are we even in this conflict?
That's right. And so we're trying to figure this out.
Because
so it's a great question. Like, why did America attack Iran after the failures of Afghanistan and Iraq?
Well, and also Trump, our president, said that we would not go to war with Iran.
That's right. So
yeah, what do you think's happening?
Yeah. So I want to refer you to something called a clean break memo. Okay.
Clean break memo?
Yes. It's really important we understand this if we understand what's going on. The clean break memo, maybe your producer can bring it up. The clean break memo written in 1996. Okay. And so let me give you some background. So Bill Clinton is in office, and Bill Clinton is obsessed with peace in the Middle East. And
because it rhymes, probably.
Yeah. And the Israelis have decided that now is a good time for a two-state solution. And the reason why is that throughout its history, Israel was always in conflict with the other Arab nations around it because of the Palestinian issue.
Right.
And the idea is that if Israel is to have security, it needs to resolve the Palestinian issue. It needs to give the Palestinians its own state. And then once that happens, then the Arab nations can resume diplomatic relations with Israel. They can trade peacefully, and the Middle East will be prosperous and peaceful, right? But you first have to resolve the Palestinian issue.
Because a lot of the Palestinians were Muslim, right?
That's right.
And a lot of the surrounding areas
are also Muslim.
Around Israel are also Muslim.
That's right. So they're sympathetic towards the
they're kind.
Muslims, right? So, for example, Saudi Arabia, the royal family said that as long as the Palestinian issue is not resolved, we will never ever have peace with Israel. Okay, so this is what we call the Oslo peace process.
Yeah, the Oslo Accords, right?
That's right. That's right. And the majority of the Israeli population was in favor of this. And the major leader who is spearheading this movement in Israel is Isaac Rabin.
What's the name?
Isaac Rabin. I'll spell it for you, okay?
Isaac
Rabin.
Yitzhak Rabin.
Yes, okay?
Yitzhak Rabin.
And he was determined to have eternal peace with the Palestinians, to resolve this issue once and for all by giving them a state. Okay.
So he and Clinton were aligned with figuring this out.
That's right. That's right. And they also had Arafat to help them out as well. And the Arab nations, especially Saudi Arabia, were very supportive of this process. But there was one person who was opposed to the peace process. His name is Benjamin Netanyahu. And he assembled a team of people, mainly Americans, who developed a new policy for him called the Clean Break Memo.
Okay.
And what the Clean Break Memo says, it's a very short document, it's only about one page. What it says is screw peace, because our neighbors are Arabs and they only understand power. So you want peace, you don't negotiate, you don't compromise. You hit them hard, you keep on hitting them hard until they respect you. Okay? So there are three major pillars to this strategy called the clean break. The first is go after the Palestinians hard. Don't give them land, don't compromise them, teach them to respect you. Okay? Show power. Make them afraid of you.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two is you have to rejuvenate the Israeli economy by adopting neoliberalism. Forget socialism, let's go with capitalism. Because at this time, socialism was very popular in Israel. And the third thing is to establish balance of power in the Middle East.
Balance of power in the Middle East.
And the way you do that is you destroy regimes that could potentially threaten you. This includes Syria, and this includes Iraq. And so the strategy calls for working with Turkey and Jordan to destabilize Syria. And it calls for regime change in Iraq.
Okay.
It's called a clean break memo.
Okay, a clean break, a new strategy for securing the realm, commonly known as a clean break report, is a policy document that was prepared in 1996 by a study group led by Richard Pearl for Benjamin Netanyahu, then Prime Minister of Israel. The report explained a new approach to solving Israel's security problems in the Middle East with an emphasis on Western values, which that means, I guess, more like a capitalistic values.
That's right.
It has since been criticized for advocating a policy of removing Saddam Hussein from power in Iraq.
That's right.
And the containment of Syria by engaging in proxy warfare and highlighting its possession of weapons of mass destruction. Certain parts of the policies set forth in the paper were rejected by Netanyahu. However, the report was ultimately adopted and serves as a foundation for modern-day Israeli global affairs. Is that true?
Well, yeah. So something really important for us to appreciate is the study group. There were two major participants in the study group: Richard Pearl and also Douglas Faith. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Right. And this is important because these two are Americans, and a few years later, they will work for the Pentagon. And Douglas Faith and Richard Pearl work with Paul Wolfowitz. And these three will become the architects of the Iraq War.
Paul Wolfowitz?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying two of the people that came up with the clean break memo then went on to work for the Pentagon.
Yes. And they're the architects of the Iraq War.
Okay, so they were architects of the Iraq War. Here we go. Douglas J. Faith, an American lawyer who served as Secretary of Defense for Policy. Faith has been described as an architect of the Iraq War. In the lead up to the war, he played a key role in promoting the false claim that the Saddam Hussein regime had an operational relationship with al-Qaeda. A Pentagon Inspector General report found that Faith's office had developed, produced, and then disseminated alternative intelligence assessments on the Iraq and al-Qaeda relationship, which included some conclusions that were inconsistent with the consensus of the intelligence community to senior decision makers.
The other thing about Douglas Fife is he has been suspected for a long time of being an Israeli asset.
Okay.
But despite that, he was still able to climb the hierarchy, which is very weird, because the FBI and the CIA determined in the 1970s that he could possibly be an Israeli asset.
Wow, so that's interesting that he would be, that they thought that, and then he was still able to climb the ranks.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But not only him, but Richard Pearl was also suspected of being an Israeli asset.
Richard Norman Pearl is an American political advisor who served as the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Global Strategic Affairs under Ronald Reagan. Pearl was an architect of the Iraq War.
Yeah.
He claimed that Saddam Hussein regime possessed weapons of mass destruction. Okay.
So we need to understand what the clean break memo really is, okay? And what it really is a blueprint for the Greater Israel Project. And the Greater Israel Project is a belief among certain Zionists that the entire Middle East belongs to Israel.
And just to be clear, this isn't Jewish people. We're talking about the Israeli government and extremist views, right?
That's right. It's not necessarily a Jewish person. Zionist is someone who believes in supremacy of Israel.
Okay, so a Zionist is someone who believes in supremacy of Israel. Look it up, Nick, because I hear the term. We might have talked about it before. We've probably talked about it before some, but I don't know if we've ever looked it up. Zionism is an ethnocultural nationalist movement that emerged in late 19th century Europe to establish and support a Jewish homeland. What does ethnocultural nationalist mean, Nick? Can you click on that? Ethnic nationalism is a form of nationalism in which the nation and nationality are defined in terms of ethnicity. What does that mean? Ethnocultural nationalism.
What it really means is there are certain people, Zionists, who believe that God promised this land to the Jews and only the Jews. And therefore only the Jews should be in this land.
Okay.
And therefore the Palestinians have no right to be there. Therefore a two-state solution goes against the will of God.
Got it.
That's what it really means.
Okay, wow. But what about people who just believe that that Jewish people deserve to have their own place as well? Is that Zionism?
So there are different forms of Zionism.
Okay.
And what I'm referring to an extreme form of Zionism that has taken hold over Israel.
Okay.
Because remember, in the 1990s, the majority of people were supportive of a two-state solution. They wanted peace with the Arabs.
In 1990s, is that true? Let's bring that up. Let me see. In the 1990s, the Israeli public was deeply divided rather than in full agreement regarding a two-state solution, while the signing of the Oslo Accords in 93 generated strong initial hope and fluctuating majority support for the peace process at various points. Substantial portions of the population, including right-wing political factions and the settler movement, opposed partitioning the land. So there was some support for it. Okay, so you have this extreme, so you have an extreme group.
Yeah, the settlers, basically.
Okay, so the group you're talking about is an extreme group that's supporting this clean break.
That's right.
Right? That wanted a greater Israel.
That's right.
That's an extreme group.
That's right. And they were led by Netanyahu, who became prime minister in 96 to implement the Greater Israel Project. He's been in power for the past 20 years. And if you look at what's been happening in the Middle East, right? The Iraq War. And then after that, the invasion and regime change in Libya, in Syria, and now this attack against Iran. It is consistent with the clean break memo.
Got it.
And what is amazing is that this transcends politics. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are participating in the implementation of the clean break memo.
You mean American Democrats and American Republicans
That's right. So it was George W. Bush which launched the war against Iraq, but it was Obama who supported regime change in Syria and in Libya, which is also part of the clean break memo. What I want to do now is show you a video. This is important we watch this video together, okay? And so the video is General Wesley Clark, and he's talking to Amy Goodman. This is after 9/11. And so 9/11 was a traumatic event for Americans, and the assumption was that the U.S. military would seek vengeance against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda by attacking Afghanistan. But what Wesley Clark says is, no. We're not just going after Afghanistan, we're going after 7 countries. And let's listen to what he says.
So this is how do we know this isn't is this a theory or is this facts? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, it's all facts. The clean break memo is a fact. And Wesley Clark saying this to Amy Goodman, I mean, it's on YouTube.
Okay, and this is U.S. Army General Wesley Clark, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And he's retired now. He's talking to Amy Goodman about what happens after 9/11.
Okay.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me."
So you're saying that this is part of the clean break memo?
That's right. That's right. Because how else can you explain what's going on? And again, this is General Wesley Clark has access to confidential Pentagon information. And he's saying that right after 9/11, they've already decided to go to war against the entire Middle East, finishing with Iran.
And did we end up doing those things right there?
Yes, we did. Well, not me, not us.
Right. Yeah, no, not us.
Yeah, I wasn't involved. Right?
I'm chill. Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely. Yeah, I mean, I have issues with my neighbors sometimes because of their dog or whatever. But
wasn't me, man.
Yeah. So, but we've gone. But have we done those things that they said in that video? And that have we attacked? Have we gone to war with those places?
Yeah.
What was the places he listed?
So, Syria. Right, that's done. Libya, Iraq.
Was Somalia one of them?
Yeah,
Iraq, Syria, Libya, Lebanon, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran.
So Iran's the last on the list. It's final boss.
Final boss.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, the final boss.
Oh, that's the Mike Tyson right there.
Yeah.
So, but why do you feel like, so you feel like America is working at the behest of the Israeli government, of Netanyahu's choices?
Well,
like, what do you think that relationship is there?
Well, it seems
because if this is true, then it would say that America's working at the behest of Netanyahu and some of these other people who this is what they want, right? Or is this what we want?
Yeah. So again, there's a pattern here, right? So I'm not trying to make a judgment. All I'm trying to do is point out a pattern that's emerging. Where in '96, they write the clean break memo, encouraging Netanyahu to choose a path of war and dominance in the Middle East and to clean break away from the Oslo peace process. And that's exactly what he's been doing for the past 20 years.
Okay.
Then these people, specifically Richard Pearl and Douglas Fife, they go work for the Pentagon and they help implement a lot of the clean break memo policies by starting a war against Iraq for no particular reason. And then for no particular reason, what happens, the Americans attack Libya, Syria, destabilize the regime, cause millions of refugees to flow into Europe. And now we have this war in Iran, and we don't even know why Trump attacked Iran. And you point this out, like he's been saying for a long time that he would not do so.
Yeah.
So what's going on here, right? Like if the United States was not doing this at the behest of Israel, then how can we explain what's going on?
Right.
Right? Now, what I'll do now is use game theory to explain why Israel would want this.
Okay.
Right? Because this will be hard for Americans to understand. All right.
For Americans to understand.
Okay. But like Wesley Clark says, we need to remove 7 nations in 5 years, and they're doing that. Right? Iran is the final boss, and the idea is there are Zionists who want to achieve the Greater Israel Project, and the idea of the Greater Israel Project is that Israel will dominate the Middle East, and only if Israel does that will Jews have security in the Middle East.
Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Now,
weren't they secure before? Like, I don't understand why they weren't secure.
right. So they weren't secure because the Palestinians were in revolt against them. The Palestinians felt that they were being oppressed, that their land was stolen from them. And so they were engaging in terrorist activities against the Israelis, including bus bombings, including airplane hijackings.
But why wouldn't Israel just figure that out instead of go this other big route? It seems like, you know what I'm saying? It seems like if it's me figuring out something with a neighbor as opposed to battling the whole town, it would seem like more at my behest, like a wiser choice to just figure out something with my neighbor.
Right, because you have a brother who's kind of crazy, and your brother believes that this house is not their house, it's our house,
Okay.
Which was stolen by this other family. And so we have a right to go take it back from them.
Okay.
And there's nothing you can do about your
And you're
crazy
saying
brother.
Netanyahu's the crazy brother.
Basically, yes.
Okay, got it.
Right? And these are people we call the settlers, right?
Okay.
These are people who go against Israeli national law and go and forcefully evict Palestinians from their homes, even though this is against Israeli national law.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of cases of that. You can see them on YouTube too, of people getting evicted from their homes for no reason, people taking people's land. A lot of heartbreaking stuff out there. Okay, so now you're showing me, what is this you're looking at here?
So let's just take what we know and draw things to their logical conclusion.
So this is game theory.
This is game theory, okay? If you believe that this land was given to you by God, and it says so in the Bible, okay? And you believe that it is Israel's destiny to dominate the Middle East, your real enemy is not Iran, right? Who's your real enemy? The United States of America.
Oh, the United States.
Right? Because the United States provides security guarantees to many Arab nations. Saudi Arabia is protected by the United States. And Saudi Arabia is part of the Greater Israel Project. Egypt is protected by the United States. Egypt is also part of the Greater Israel Project, right? So what you need to do is remove both Iran and the United States from the equation. And the best way to do that is to have them go to war against each other, right? And then Israel is the last nation standing. And then they achieve the Greater Israel Project.
But
This is game theory, by the way.